My name is Thea Anders, and I'm 29 years old. You were always our biggest disappointment, my mother said, while sliding a pen across the table so I could sign away my inheritance in front of 12 relatives. That was 3 years ago. I walked out of my parents' house that afternoon with nothing. No money, no family, no safety net. My sister Victoria took everything. The $4 million estate, the beach house, the investment accounts. My father didn't even look at me when I left. What none of them knew, not my mother, not my father, not my perfect sister, was what a single phone call between two lawyers would uncover 3 years later. And when my father finally heard the number, he said the same two words over and over, like a man who just watched his whole world tilt sideways. Before I go on, please take a moment to like and subscribe. But only if you genuinely connect with this story. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Now, let me take you back to a Sunday afternoon in March, the day my family sat me down and erased me. The phone call comes on a Wednesday night. I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor of my studio apartment in New Haven, surrounded by fabric samples and floor plans for a client's living room renovation. My first real solo project. $800. I'm proud of it. My mother's name lights up the screen. Family meeting, this Sunday, don't be late. No explanation, no warmth, just instructions. I almost don't go. Something in her tone feels off, sharper than usual, more rehearsed. But it's family. And despite everything, I still show up when they call. That's always been my problem. Sunday morning, I drive 3 hours from New Haven to Fairfield County. The March rain hasn't let up in days, and the windshield wipers beat a rhythm I can't shake. When I turn onto Ridgewood Lane, the house rises through the gray. Stone facade, black shutters, the kind of home that looks like it was built to intimidate. I grew up here. It never felt like mine. Inside, 12 people are already seated around the dining room table. Grandmother Rosemary sits nearest the window, hands folded in her lap. Uncle Robert is beside her, jaw tight. Aunt Janet, 3 cousins, everyone dressed like they're attending something formal. At the head of the table sits Mr. Whitfield, my parents' estate attorney. Silver-haired, reading glasses on a chain, a thick leather folder open in front of him. My father, Richard, stands behind his chair, arms crossed. He doesn't greet me. My mother, Patricia, gestures to an empty seat at the far end, the only one left. And there, at my father's right hand, sits Victoria, my older sister. Pressed blazer, pearl earrings. She doesn't look at me either, but her posture says everything. She already knows what's coming. On the table in front of my empty chair, I see a single document. My name is printed at the top. I can't read the rest before my father clears his throat. Sit down, Thea. This won't take long. I sit. The chair is cold. My father doesn't waste time. He nods at Mr. Whitfield, who opens the leather folder and begins reading in that flat, legal tone that strips everything of emotion. The estate, all of it, is being transferred to Victoria Ann Anders. The house on Ridgewood Lane, the beach cottage in Mystic, the investment accounts, the trust fund established by my grandfather. Total estimated value, $4 million. Every penny, every wall, every memory that was supposed to be shared. Victoria's name appears on every line. Mine appears on none. I look at my father. And me? He doesn't answer. He adjusts his cufflink and stares at a point just past my shoulder. My mother fills the silence. She's been waiting for it. You were always our biggest disappointment. She says it the way someone reads a grocery list. Calm, final. We're not going to pretend anymore. The room doesn't move. Grandmother Rosemary looks down at her hands. Uncle Robert shifts in his seat but says nothing. Aunt Janet studies the table. My cousins avoid my eyes like I've already stopped existing. Victoria sits perfectly still. She doesn't speak. But I catch it. The smallest tug at the corner of her mouth. Not quite a smile. Close enough. Mr. Whitfield clears his throat. He slides the document closer to me. A relinquishment of inheritance rights. Pre-drafted. Tabs already marking where to sign. We'll need your signature to finalize. I look at the pen. I look at my mother. Her chin is lifted. She's daring me to make a scene. I pick up the pen. My hand is steady. That surprises even me. I heard you, Mom, I sign. I stand before the ink is dry. Nobody stops me. Nobody says, wait. Nobody says, are you okay? The room exhales as I push back from the table, not with relief, but with the collective understanding that the uncomfortable part is over. For them. I walk through the hallway toward the front door. My footsteps echo on the hardwood. To my left, the gallery wall. I've passed it 1,000 times. 3 framed photographs. Victoria's law school graduation. Her accepting the dean's award. Her standing between Mom and Dad on a balcony in Rome. Silver frames, perfectly spaced. There are no photographs of me. I open the front door. The rain hasn't stopped. My phone buzzes before I reach my car. A text from Victoria. No hard feelings, right? It's just business. I stare at it for 10 seconds. Then I delete it. The drive back to New Haven takes 3 hours. I make it 20 minutes before I pull over. I park on the shoulder of I-95, turn off the engine, and sit there. Cars blur past. The rain hammers the roof. I don't cry. I don't scream. I just sit with it. The weight of being subtracted from your own family like a line item on a spreadsheet. 40 minutes. Then I start the car again. When I get home, my apartment is exactly as I left it. Fabric samples on the floor, the client's floor plan pinned to the wall, a bowl of cereal on the counter from breakfast. I check my bank account. $3,200. No family, no connections, no one coming to help. I sit on the kitchen floor that night and make a list. Not of what I lost, of what I still have. It's a short list, but it's mine. The first client cancels on a Tuesday. Hi Thea, we've decided to go in a different direction. Best of luck. No explanation. I send a polite reply and move on. These things happen. The second cancellation comes 4 days later. This one stings more. It was a full kitchen renovation. 3 weeks of planning. Measurements already taken. The homeowner calls instead of emailing. We heard you're going through some personal issues, she says carefully. We just think it's better to work with someone more stable right now. I ask who told her that. She hesitates. I'd rather not say. Something cold settles in my stomach. 2 cancellations in 1 week, both using language that sounds coached, both pulling away for reasons that have nothing to do with my work. I take on smaller jobs, a living room refresh for a rental unit, $800, a color consultation for a couple in West Haven, $200. I eat cereal for dinner 3 nights a week. Not because I'm romantic about struggle, because cereal is $3.49 a box. Rock bottom isn't dramatic, it's quiet. It's splitting a box of pasta into 3 meals and calling it budgeting. In week 3, I try the only family lifeline I have left. Uncle Robert, my father's younger brother. He's always been gentler than Dad. He once told me my eye for color reminded him of Grandmother Rosemary. Thea, I love you, he says on the phone. But don't pull me into the middle of this. He hangs up, and I understand, there is no middle. There's the Anders family, and there's me. 2 separate countries now. That evening, an email arrives from an address I don't recognize. Someone requesting a design consultation for a penthouse in Hartford. Budget? Significant. I almost delete it. It feels too good to be real. I don't delete it. The truth finds me in a coffee shop on Chapel Street. It's a Saturday morning, about 6 weeks after the meeting. I'm reviewing sketches for a bathroom remodel, the only project I have left, when a woman approaches my table. Claire Dutton, former client. I'd redesigned her home office the previous fall. Thea, I thought that was you. She sits down without asking. Her face is strange, half guilt, half curiosity. I have to ask you something. Are you still doing design work? Of course. Why? She stirs her coffee slowly. Because your sister told me you weren't. The words land like a slap. Victoria called you? Not directly. She mentioned it at a dinner party. Said you'd stepped back from the business. That you were going through a rough time. Claire pauses. Looks at me like she's deciding how much to share. She also said you were let go from the family for reasons she couldn't get into. She made it sound serious, Thea. Like it was legal. A couple of people at that dinner were in real estate. Word travels. I set down my pencil. My hands are shaking. Not from sadness this time. from something harder. Did she say what the reasons were? No. That's what made it worse. She left it open. People filled in the blanks. I understand now. The cancellations, the sudden distance. Victoria didn't just take my inheritance, she was salting the earth behind me. Quietly, socially, with plausible deniability. No fingerprints, just whispers at dinner parties. I want to call her. I want to scream. Instead, I thank Claire. I finish my coffee. And I make a decision right there, sitting in that booth with my $6.50 latte and my ruined client list. I won't confront Victoria. I won't beg my parents. I'll rebuild. Somewhere she can't reach me. 3 months after the meeting, I break my own rule and call my mother. Not to beg, not to cry. I need one answer. She picks up on the third ring. Thea. Not a question, not a greeting, just an acknowledgement that I still exist. Did you plan it, Mom? Silence. The meeting, the 12 people, Mr. Whitfield, all of it. Was it planned? We did what was best for the family. For the family? Or for Victoria? Victoria never gave us a reason to worry. I never gave you one either. Longer silence this time. I hear her breathing. I hear the kitchen faucet dripping, the one Dad's been meaning to fix for 7 years. Strange, the details you remember when your mother is deciding whether to be honest with you. Thea. Her voice softens, but it's the softness of someone explaining something to a child. If you'd listened to us from the beginning, gone to law school, or at least gotten a real job, none of this would have happened. You chose this. There it is, the core of it. In Patricia Anders' world, obedience equals love. I disobeyed, so I don't qualify. This is the last time I call this number. Don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic, Mom. I'm being clear. I hang up. And I keep my word. No calls, no texts, no emails. Not that month. Not the month after. The silence between us becomes a wall, and every day I don't reach for the phone, it grows another inch higher. I'm not angry anymore. That's the part no one tells you about cutting ties. Eventually the rage runs out, and what's left is just quiet. A terrible, steady quiet that sounds a lot like freedom. 4 months in, Victoria sends the first email. Subject line, thinking of you. The body is long, carefully written, and dripping with concern. I want you to know I had no part in their decision. Mom and Dad acted on their own. I tried to talk them out of it, but you know how Dad is. I hope you're doing okay. I worry about you. I read it twice. Not because it's convincing. Because it isn't. Every sentence is constructed like a legal defense. No admissions, no specifics, no accountability. This email isn't for me. It's insurance. If things ever blow up, Victoria can point to it and say, "See? I reached out. I was the caring sister." I don't respond. 2 weeks later, a second email. Shorter, more direct. I heard you're struggling financially. If you need help, I'm here. You don't have to do this alone. Just ask. Just ask. The 2 most loaded words in the English language when they come from someone who's standing on your neck. I read this one once. Then I closed the laptop. But something makes me stop. A small instinct. The kind that lives in the back of your brain where survival decisions are made. I open the laptop again. I create a new folder in my inbox. I label it simply V. I drag both emails into it. I don't know what I'll do with them. I don't even know if they matter. But my gut tells me to keep a record. Victoria is meticulous. She plans 3 moves ahead. If she's sending emails this polished, she's building a narrative. And I should be keeping one too. Victoria's kindness always came with a receipt. I just never thought to check the fine print before. The Hartford penthouse changes everything. The mystery email from week 3 turns out to belong to a woman named Margaret Calloway, 62 years old, self-made, owns commercial properties across Connecticut and North Carolina. Sharp eyes, silver rings on 3 fingers, the kind of handshake that tells you she's been underestimated her whole life and has enjoyed proving people wrong every single time. We meet at the penthouse, 18th floor, overlooking Bushnell Park. The space is a disaster. Previous tenant gutted the kitchen and left, walls stripped to drywall, exposed pipes. Most designers would see a problem. I see a cathedral. Margaret watches me walk the rooms for 40 minutes. I don't pitch. I don't sell. I just move through the space, touching surfaces, measuring light angles with my hand, crouching to check sightlines. When I'm done, she's standing in the doorway with her arms crossed and the faintest smile. You see space differently than anyone I've met. The project takes 5 months. Budget, $120,000, more money than I've ever been responsible for. I don't sleep much. I source materials from salvage yards and artisan workshops. Every choice is deliberate. Every corner tells a story. When it's finished, Margaret walks through the completed penthouse and doesn't say a word for a long time. Then she turns to me. I have 3 colleagues who need someone exactly like you. Within 2 months, I have 4 active projects, real ones, not $800 living room refreshes, full residential redesigns with clients who found me through Margaret's name. Over dinner one evening, Margaret mentioned something that barely registers at the time, but later, much later, it will matter enormously. I'm looking into boutique hospitality. If you ever want to invest your time, not money, I'd like to talk. I don't invest in people who need saving, she tells me. I invest in people who just need a door. 8 months after the family meeting, I leave Connecticut. Margaret's boutique hotel project is in Asheville, North Carolina, a city built into the Blue Ridge Mountains, full of artists and hikers and people who chose a different kind of life. It feels like the right place to stop running and start building. I pack my car, a 12-year-old Honda Civic with a dent in the passenger door, and drive south. Everything I own fits in the trunk and back seat. Fabric samples, a box of books, 3 houseplants I refuse to leave behind. In Asheville, I rent a 1-bedroom apartment above a pottery studio. The floors creak. The water pressure is a suggestion. It's perfect. I file the paperwork for an LLC. I choose the name carefully. Alder Interiors. No Anders anywhere. A clean start needs a clean name. Margaret and I formalize our arrangement. She invests $150,000 into Alder Interiors. Not charity, a business agreement with terms, margins, and milestones. I handle design. She connects me with property owners looking to renovate commercial spaces. Profits split by percentage. Everything documented. I work 14-hour days. Some nights, I fall asleep at my desk with a pencil still in my hand. I don't check social media. I don't call Connecticut. The world I came from shrinks a little more each week until it feels like something I watched in a movie once. Then, one Tuesday morning, my phone buzzes with a name I haven't seen in years. Daniel Reeves, college friend, now a real estate attorney in Charlotte. He's spotted Alder Interiors in a North Carolina business filing. Is this you? Thea Anders running an interiors firm? Congrats. Coffee sometime? For the first time in 8 months, I smile without thinking about it. I type back. Name a place. Daniel Reeves looks exactly the way I remember. Tall, slightly rumpled, the kind of guy who wears a suit like he's doing it a favor. We meet at a coffee shop in downtown Charlotte. He orders black coffee. I order the same. Some things don't change. We catch up. He's been practicing real estate law for 5 years. Good clients, steady work. He asks about Alder Interiors. I tell him the basics. Boutique hospitality, commercial renovations, Margaret's investment. He listens carefully. Lawyers always do. Then I tell him the part I haven't told many people. The meeting, the signing, the 12 relatives. Patricia's words. Daniel sets down his cup. His expression shifts from friendly to focused. Wait, your sister, Victoria Anders? Yes. From Fairfield County? Works at a firm in Stamford? That's her. Why? He's quiet for a moment, running something through his head. Her name came up in a transaction I was reviewing last week, a commercial deal in the Southeast. She was CC'd on an email chain between a broker and a property management group. That doesn't make sense. Victoria doesn't do commercial real estate. That's what I thought. He leans forward. Thea, in those emails, your sister was warning them about you. She said you were unreliable, that your family cut ties with you for serious financial concerns. She used your full name. The coffee tastes like ash. She told them not to work with anyone connected to Thea Anders. I don't speak. The coffee shop noise fills the gap. Espresso machine, laughter, someone's playlist bleeding through cheap speakers. Daniel watches me carefully. Don't do anything yet, he says. Let me look into it. But Thea, if this is what I think it is, your sister wasn't just favored. She was actively working against you. I nod. My hands are flat on the table, steady. But under the surface, something is shifting. I need to pause the story here for a second, because this is the moment where everything splits. If you were me, if you just found out your own sister was going behind your back, sabotaging your name, making sure you couldn't rebuild, what would you do? Would you confront her? Or would you keep building in silence? Drop your answer in the comments. A for confront, B for silence. And if this story is hitting close to home right now, that subscribe button is right there. It's free. It helps more than you know. Okay, let's keep going. Because what happened next? I didn't see it coming either. 18 months after I left Connecticut, Alder Interiors finishes its 12th project. I keep a running log in a leather notebook Margaret gave me. Every project. Every number. 12 renovations. Annual revenue, $1.2 million. It still doesn't feel real when I write it. Margaret and I make our first major acquisition, a neglected commercial building in South Asheville, 3 stories, brick exterior, condemned by the city 2 years prior. Everyone tells us it's a money pit. We see something else. I redesign the interior. Margaret handles the permits and zoning. We pour 6 months and every available dollar into it. When we're done, the building houses 4 luxury retail tenants and 2 design studios. Net profit after renovation, $340,000. My name starts appearing in regional design magazines, a feature in Asheville Home and Design, a mention in a Charlotte real estate newsletter. Small recognitions, but they mean everything to someone who was told she'd never amount to anything. I hire 3 employees, a project manager, an assistant designer, a bookkeeper who keeps me honest. We work out of a converted warehouse space that smells like sawdust and fresh paint. I still drive the Honda Civic. Still live in the 1-bedroom above the pottery studio. Still eat lunch at my desk. The money grows, but my life stays small. On purpose. Then one evening, over Thai food in Margaret's kitchen, she says something that makes my chopsticks stop mid-air. There's a parcel of land in Westport, Connecticut. Just came on the market. It's adjacent to some residential estates in the Fairfield County area. She watches my face. I know what she's telling me. Westport borders my parents' neighborhood. I don't flinch. Send me the listing. 3 years after the day I signed those papers, I walk into the Connecticut Real Estate Association's annual charity gala at the Hartford Marriott. I almost didn't come. When Margaret mentioned it, 200 guests, black tie, every name in Connecticut real estate, my first instinct was to say no. I'm not ready to stand in a room full of people who might know my family, who might have heard Victoria's version of my story, but Margaret doesn't let me hide. You're my business partner, Thea. You belong in that room. So here I am. Black dress. Simple, no jewelry, hair straight and clean. I look like someone who doesn't need to prove anything, and for the first time, that's not a performance. The ballroom is gold lit, champagne on silver trays, string quartet in the corner, 200 people in dark suits and designer gowns, networking under crystal chandeliers. I see them before they see me. My father stands near the bar, speaking with Mr. Whitfield, the same attorney who slid that document toward me 3 years ago. My mother sits at a round table with Aunt Janet, her back straight, her pearls catching the light, and Victoria. She's across the room, mid-conversation with a group of men in expensive ties, laughing, gesturing, in her element. My chest tightens. 3 years of silence, and my body still reacts to them like a warning system. Margaret places a hand on my arm. Breathe. I breathe. Then Patricia turns her head. Our eyes meet across 60 feet of polished floor. Her champagne glass stops halfway to her lips. Victoria notices her mother's expression, follows her gaze, finds me. For 1 full second, nobody moves. Then Margaret walks straight toward the Anders table, and I walk with her. Margaret extends her hand to Mr. Whitfield like they're old colleagues. They probably are. Gerald, good to see you. She turns smoothly, one arm gesturing toward me. Have you met my business partner, Thea Anders, the creative force behind Alder Interiors? She says it at full volume. Not aggressive, not pointed, just the natural tone of a woman introducing someone she's proud of. Half the surrounding tables hear it. Richard turns slowly. His face cycles through recognition, confusion, and something I can't name. He stares at me like I'm a ghost who walked in through the wrong door. Patricia recovers first. She always does. Thea! Her smile appears like a light switch. Instant, practiced, camera ready. What a surprise! We've been so worried about you. She reaches for my hand. I let her take it. One squeeze. Then I pull back. I appreciate that, Mom. I've been well. Victoria appears at the table's edge. She's watching me the way a chess player watches an unexpected move. We heard you were doing some decorating work? She tilts her head, a small, patronizing smile. That's sweet. The word sweet lands exactly as she intends it. Dismissive, minimizing. But Margaret heard it. She turns to Victoria with the calm authority of a woman who has eaten people like this for breakfast for 40 years. Decorating? Alder Interiors manages a $6 million commercial portfolio. I'd hardly call that decorating. The table goes silent. A man seated beside Mr. Whitfield lowers his scotch. Two women behind us stop their conversation. Victoria's smile doesn't disappear. It freezes. A colleague of Victoria's, a real estate lawyer I don't recognize, leans over. Alder Interiors? She owns that? We just contracted them for our Stamford project. Victoria's face goes white. I stand perfectly still. I didn't come here to prove anything. I came because I was invited. And right now, that's enough. 1 week after the gala, the phone call happens. I'm not there for it. Daniel tells me afterward, sitting across from me at his office in Charlotte, a legal pad covered in notes between us. Here's what happened. The Westport property, the parcel Margaret and I are purchasing, sits adjacent to the Anders family estate. Standard procedure requires a boundary survey and title verification. Daniel, as my attorney, reaches out to the attorney of record for the neighboring property. That attorney is Gerald Whitfield. Daniel makes the call. Professional, routine. He identifies the purchasing entity. Alder Interiors, LLC. Owner and principal, Thea Anders. Silence on the line. Not a polite pause. A long, airless nothing. Thea Anders? Whitfield's voice changes register. The same Thea Anders from the inheritance file? That's correct. Another silence. Daniel says he can hear Whitfield shifting papers on his desk. I'll need to verify financials on the buyer's side for the boundary agreement. Standard compliance. Of course, Daniel says. I'll send a summary. Alder Interiors' total portfolio valuation, including real property and business assets. Approximately $9.4 million. Daniel tells me the silence lasted 15 seconds. 15 seconds. He knows, because he counted. Then Whitfield said, very quietly, I'll need to contact my client. That was it. No commentary, no questions, just the sound of a man recalibrating everything he thought he knew about a family he's served for 20 years. Daniel sets down his pen and looks at me across the table. He didn't say a word for about 15 seconds, Thea. That's a long time for a lawyer. I nod. My hands are in my lap. My pulse is steady. But somewhere deep inside my chest, behind the calm and the professionalism and the 3 years of silence, something exhales. Gerald Whitfield calls Richard Anders that same afternoon. I learn the details later, through Daniel, through documents, through the version that eventually filters back to me whether I want it or not. But here's what happened in the study of the Ridgewood Lane house, behind a closed mahogany door, on an ordinary Tuesday. Whitfield lays it out simply. A property transaction, adjacent parcel, buyer, Alder Interiors, owned and operated by Thea Anders. Net valuation of combined assets, approximately $9.4 million. Richard says nothing for a long time. Then, that's impossible. Whitfield repeats the number, confirms the documentation, notes that no Anders family funds appear anywhere in the company's capital structure. She built that? Alone? According to every filing I've reviewed, yes. That's impossible. Richard says it again, softer this time, like the word is the only thing he can hold on to. That's Impossible. Patricia is in the room. She's been listening on speaker from the armchair by the window. Her face hasn't moved, but her hand grips the linen napkin on the side table so tightly her knuckles have gone white. In the living room, Victoria is on the phone with a friend. Her voice carries through the wall. Tight, urgent. What do you know about Alder Interiors, the company in North Carolina? Have you heard of it? Richard sets the phone down. He stares at the wall where 3 photographs of Victoria hang in silver frames. Then he looks at the bare space beside them, where a photograph of Thea has never been. I want to call her. Whitfield's reply is gentle but firm. Through attorneys, Richard. She has counsel now. This goes through proper channels. Richard nods slowly, and in that nod something breaks that won't go back together. His daughter has a lawyer, because of him. The emails surface that same week, and they change everything. Daniel is completing due diligence for the Westport purchase. Title searches, lien checks, transaction history for the surrounding parcels. Routine, boring. The kind of paperwork that makes law school graduates question their life choices. But buried in a chain of correspondence between a regional brokerage and a property management firm, Daniel finds something that is not routine at all. An email from Victoria Anders, sent 14 months earlier, addressed to a commercial broker named Paul Erickson. The subject line, heads up, confidential. The content, Victoria expressing concern about a woman named Thea Anders who may approach firms in the Southeast market. She describes me as financially irresponsible. Claims I was removed from the family due to serious trust issues. Advises Erickson to exercise caution with anyone associated with that name. There are 3 more emails in the chain. Different recipients, same language, same careful, devastating phrasing. Victoria never says anything overtly false. She implies. She suggests. She lets the reader fill in the worst version of the story. It's elegant, it's calculated, and in the state of Connecticut, it's called tortious interference with business relations. Daniel sends me the chain. I read it once, sitting at my desk in Asheville, with the mountain light coming through the window. I don't scream, I don't cry. I close the laptop and sit with it for a full hour. Then I open it again and call Daniel. Are these enough? More than enough. How long have you known? I found them 2 days ago. I wanted to verify before telling you. I nod, even though he can't see me. Keep them safe, I say. I'll decide when I'm ready. I'm not going to use them out of anger. I'm going to use them if she doesn't stop. Let me step out of the story for just a moment, because we've reached the turning point, and I want to hear from you. Thea has the evidence. She has the money. She has every legal right to take this to court. But here's the question. If you were her, would you sue your own sister? Or would you walk away and let your success speak for itself? A for sue. B for walk away. Tell me in the comments. I've read every single one so far, and I'm not stopping now. Let's get back to it. Because what Thea decides, it isn't what you'd expect. 2 days later, Daniel gets the call. Mr. Whitfield, on behalf of Richard Anders. Formal tone, careful words. My client would like to arrange a meeting with Ms. Anders, a family conversation. Daniel asks me. I think about it for 1 full day. I sit with it the way I've learned to sit with every hard decision in the past 3 years. Without rushing, without reacting, without letting the old version of me take the wheel. Then I tell Daniel, no, if my father has something to say, he can put it in writing. Richard writes. The letter arrives through Whitfield's office, on personal stationery. Not legal letterhead, his handwriting. Thea, I am incredibly proud of what you've accomplished. I had no idea. I would like to see you. We have a lot to discuss. Can we talk? I read it at my kitchen table. I read it again standing at the window. I read it a 3rd time sitting on the floor, like I did the night everything fell apart. He's proud. Of course he is, because now there's a number attached to my name. $9.4 million of validation. But where was this letter when I was earning $800 per project? Where was this pride when I was eating cereal for dinner? When I couldn't keep a client because his other daughter was poisoning every well in a 3-state radius? I dictate my response to Daniel. He sends it through Whitfield. Thank you, Dad. But I don't need pride that arrives 3 years late. I built my life without it. I'll continue without it. A week later, Richard sends a second letter. 2 words, written in ink that smudged slightly, like his hand was shaking. I'm sorry. I read it. I fold it. I put it in a drawer. I don't reply. I don't sue Victoria. I want to be clear about that. Not because I forgive her. Not yet. But because a lawsuit turns my life into a courtroom exhibit, and I've spent 3 years taking it back. I'm not handing it over again. Instead, Daniel drafts a cease and desist letter. It is 5 pages long, precise, and devastating. It names 4 specific instances of defamatory communication. It attaches the email chain. It quotes the relevant Connecticut statute on tortious interference with business relations. And it ends with a single clear statement. If Victoria Anders continues to disseminate false or misleading information regarding Thea Anders or Alder Interiors, LLC, legal proceedings will be initiated without further notice. Daniel sends its certified mail to Victoria's office at the law firm in Stamford. She receives it on a Thursday morning. I know this because Daniel gets a read confirmation at 10:14 a.m. By 10:32 a.m., Victoria calls Patricia. I learn the details later, through the grapevine that Daniel has quietly maintained with contacts in the Connecticut legal community. Word travels in small professional circles, especially when a lawyer gets served a cease and desist at her own firm. She has the emails. Victoria's voice, I'm told, was flat, controlled, but fast. The way people speak when they're calculating damage. She has everything I sent. What emails? Patricia asks. All of them. Everyone I sent to brokers, to property managers, about Thea. A long pause. We'll handle it. Patricia says this in the same tone she used 3 years ago at the dining room table. But it doesn't land the same way anymore. There's a crack in it now. That evening, Victoria calls my phone directly. First time in 3 years. I watch her name light up the screen. I decline the call. Not because I'm afraid. Because there's nothing left to say. The emails do what emails always do. They travel. I never leak them. I never post them. I never mention them to anyone outside of Daniel and Margaret. But the cease and desist arrives at Victoria's firm during business hours. A legal secretary processes the delivery. A managing partner reviews the cover sheet as part of standard risk protocol. Within a week, 2 senior associates at Victoria's firm know that she used professional channels to defame her own sister. Within 2 weeks, the managing partner has a quiet conversation with Victoria behind a closed door. She isn't fired, but she's reassigned, moved from client-facing commercial transactions to internal compliance review, a windowless office, no client lunches, no networking events. In the Connecticut legal community, the story spreads the way all professional gossip does. Not with fireworks, but with raised eyebrows and carefully worded references. Difficult family situation. Judgment issues. Not someone you want representing your interests. Victoria's reputation doesn't collapse overnight. It erodes, slowly, permanently, slowly. I hear about it from Daniel, who hears about it from colleagues, who hear about it from other colleagues. I don't celebrate. There's nothing to celebrate about watching someone dismantle their own career with emails they chose to send. Then one afternoon, a number I haven't seen in 3 years appears on my phone. Uncle Robert. Thea. His voice is heavier than I remember. I owe you an apology. For what? For that day. The meeting. I should have said something. I should have stood up. I close my eyes. Thank you, Uncle Robert. That means more now than you know. He asks if he can visit sometime. I tell him Asheville is beautiful in spring. When we hang up, I sit for a long time. The emails expose themselves. I didn't have to. The house on Ridgewood Lane gets quieter. I hear fragments of what's happening through Uncle Robert, who starts calling me every other Sunday. He keeps it light. Weather, his dog, a funny story about Grandmother Rosemary. But sometimes, without meaning to, he lets details slip. Richard has stopped attending his weekly golf game. He sits in his study for hours. The bookshelves are lined with law journals he'll never open again. And somewhere on his desk, Robert saw it once, is a printout, a magazine article about Alder Interiors. My photograph is in the corner. Richard has read it so many times the paper is soft at the creases. Patricia holds the line. In public, she tells friends the same story she's been telling for 3 years. Thea was always the difficult one. Now that she has money, everyone wants to rewrite history. She says this at brunch, at book club, at the farmer's market on Saturday mornings. But Robert tells me that late at night, he's heard her through the bathroom door, crying, not the performative kind, the kind that sounds like it comes from a place she won't admit exists during daylight. Richard sends a third letter. Handwritten, like the second. Longer this time. I'm not asking you to come back. I know I don't have that right anymore. I just want you to know. I was wrong. I see it now. I see you now. I know it's too late. I read it sitting on my porch in Asheville. The mountains are turning gold. The air smells like wood smoke and rain. I cry. For the first time in 3 years, I let myself cry. Not from pain. From the ache of getting something you once needed desperately, long after you've learned to live without it. I fold the letter. I put it in the drawer with the other one. I don't reply. Margaret tells me over dinner, on a Tuesday, like it's nothing. We're at her farmhouse outside Asheville. She's made roast chicken and opened a bottle of wine she's been saving for no particular occasion. The fire is low. Her cat is asleep on the armchair. I knew your father. I set down my fork. Not now, she says. 30 years ago, when I was starting my first company, Richard Anders was a young attorney in Fairfield County. Sharp, ambitious. He was one of my earliest legal advisors. I don't speak. He was good at his job, but he measured everything in numbers. Revenue, returns. If it couldn't be quantified, it didn't exist for him. She pauses. He told me once that I lacked vision, that boutique real estate would never scale. I ended the retainer that week. A year later, my company was outperforming every projection he'd made. She looks at me across the table with a steadiness that I've learned to trust more than anything. When you first contacted me about the Hartford penthouse, I didn't know who you were. I hired you because your portfolio was remarkable. I found out you were Richard's daughter later, when you told me about the meeting. And I decided I wasn't going to let history repeat itself. She turns her wineglass slowly. Not because I hate your father, I don't, but because I know what it feels like to be dismissed by someone who can't see past their own measuring stick. I sit with this for a long time. Margaret didn't rescue me. She recognized me. Recognized the look in my eyes that she'd once seen in her own mirror, 30 years ago, standing in a young lawyer's office being told she would never be enough. Thank you, I say. Don't thank me. Just keep building. 6 months after the gala, the Westport property closes. I don't build a house on it. I don't build anything for myself. Instead, I convert it into a shared creative workspace, studios and meeting rooms for young designers, artists, and architects who are just starting out, people who need a door. The kind of space I wish had existed when I was sleeping on my kitchen floor with $3,200 to my name. I name it the Alder Collective. Margaret cuts the ribbon. The same week, Victoria sends her final email. I know I messed up. I know what I did was wrong. Can we talk? Please. This time, I reply. It takes me an hour to write 4 sentences. Victoria, I forgive you. I mean that. But forgiveness doesn't mean I want you back in my life. I wish you well. I press send, and something loosens in my chest that I didn't know was still tight. 2 days later, my phone rings. Patricia. I almost don't answer. But something tells me this conversation needs to happen. Not for her, but for me. One last time. You proved your point, she says. Now come home. I stand at the window of my apartment. The mountains are blue and endless. The pottery studio below is playing something soft on the radio. Mom, I didn't prove a point. I built a life, and this is my home now. Thea, I love you, but I can't go back to being someone you only value when the numbers are right. She's quiet. I hear her breathing, and I wonder if she's crying again, or if she's angry, or if she's simply sitting in the silence of a house that's too big for 2 people who pushed away the wrong daughter. I hang up. Gently. Home isn't a house your parents own. It's the one you chose for yourself. So that's my story. I don't tell it so you'll hate my family. They're people. Flawed, stubborn, sometimes cruel. But people. My father was raised to believe success looked one way, and he couldn't see it when it showed up wearing a different outfit. My mother believed love meant control, and when she lost control, she lost the language for love. My sister was terrified that if I succeeded, her entire identity would collapse, because it was built on being better than me. They were wrong, all of them. But they weren't strangers, they were my family. And that's what made it hurt the way it did. Here's what I learned, and I'm sharing it not as advice but as something I carry with me. You don't need permission from the people who gave up on you to start over. You just need one door. Sometimes you have to build that door yourself. Sometimes someone like Margaret holds it open for you. Either way, the door is yours. Setting boundaries with family isn't abandonment. It's not cruelty. It's the decision to stop bleeding for people who won't hand you a bandage. Today, Alder Interiors has 14 employees. Our portfolio is north of $10 million. Margaret is still my partner. Daniel is still my lawyer. And every morning, I wake up in a house I bought myself, in a city I chose, living a life I built from a kitchen floor and a list of what I still had. Richard still writes letters. I still read them. I haven't replied. Maybe someday I will. Maybe I won't. That's my choice now. And if you're out there right now, sitting in the aftermath of being told you're not enough by the people who were supposed to believe in you, hear me. The best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's building a life so full that their opinion no longer fits anywhere inside it. And that's where I'll leave it. If you made it this far, thank you. It means more than you know. Now I want to hear your story. Have you ever had to walk away from family to save yourself? Or are you still deciding? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want more stories like this, check the description. There's another one waiting for you right there. I'll see you in the next one. My name is Evelyn Dawson. I'm 21. Last Christmas Eve at 11:14 p.m., I was standing barefoot in 6 inches of snow, locked outside my own house at -12 degrees, because I asked my father why I didn't get a present. Inside, 30 guests laughed and clinked champagne glasses. The Christmas tree blinked red and gold through the frosted window. My father poured himself a second glass. My stepmother sliced into a 3-layer cake. My stepsister looked right at me through the glass, waved with her fingertips, and pulled the curtain shut. I thought that was the worst moment of my life. I was wrong. Because right when my toes went completely numb, a black limousine rolled to a stop at the curb, and the woman who stepped out was someone my father had spent 12 years convincing me didn't care whether I lived or died. But here's what he didn't know. She didn't come empty-handed. And after that night, he would never again tell anyone that this house was his. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from right now, and what time is it there? Now, let me take you back 12 years, to the day my mother was buried, and the day my father started building the cage I'd live in until last Christmas. I'm 9 years old, the sky is iron gray, the kind of gray that doesn't promise rain. Just nothing. My mother's casket is mahogany. I know because my grandmother told me. Your mama picked mahogany once for a bookshelf, she whispered, holding my hand so tight I felt her pulse. She had good taste, your mama. My grandmother's name is Vivian Hartwell. She smells like jasmine and old paper. At the cemetery, she's the only person touching me. My father stands 6 feet away, hands in his coat pockets, jaw locked. He hasn't cried once, not at the hospital, not at the viewing, not now. After the last guest leaves, Vivian kneels in front of me. Her eyes are swollen. She cups my face and says 5 words I will carry for 12 years without understanding them. I will always find you, little star. Then my father steps between us. You need to go, Vivian. Richard, she's my granddaughter. Your daughter is dead because you pushed her too hard. You're not welcome here anymore. I don't understand what he means. My mother died of a brain aneurysm. Nobody pushed anything. But I'm 9 years old, and my father is the tallest person in the room, and when he speaks, people stop. Vivian looks at me over his shoulder. Her lips move, but no sound comes out. Then she turns and walks to her car. I watch it disappear around the corner. Within a month, we move. New town, new number. My father throws out the address book from my mother's desk drawer. "It's just us now," he says at dinner. "That's all we need." I believe him. I have no reason not to. Not yet. 2 years pass. I'm 11. My father brings home Brenda Morris on a Tuesday. She has honey blonde hair, a smile that shows all her teeth, and a daughter named Kelsey who is 2 years older than me. "This is going to be wonderful," Brenda says, squeezing my shoulders. Her nails are acrylic. They dig in. Within a week, Kelsey moves into my bedroom, the one upstairs with the window seat my mother built. I'm relocated to the basement. There's a cot, a lamp, and a water stain on the ceiling shaped like a fist. "Kelsey needs sunlight for her skin condition," Brenda explains. "Kelsey doesn't have a skin condition. She has a tan from soccer camp. I learned the rules fast. I cook breakfast before school. I clean the kitchen after dinner. I fold laundry on Sundays. Kelsey picks outfits. Kelsey picks TV shows. Kelsey picks where we eat when we go out, which isn't often. And when we do, I sit at the end of the booth." "Evelyn likes helping," Brenda tells guests. "She's such a little worker bee." One evening, I say to my father, "I have homework. Can Kelsey do dishes tonight?" Brenda's eyes fill instantly. She presses a hand to her chest. "I try so hard, Richard, and she still resents me." My father turns to me. His voice is low and final. "Apologize. Now." I apologize. I always apologize. Here's the thing I won't learn for another 10 years. Every single year, every birthday, every Christmas, a package arrives at our old address, then gets forwarded. A gift. A card. From my grandmother. My father signs the return to sender slip before I even know it exists. Every year. For 12 years. But I'll get to that. I'm 18. I open a letter at the kitchen table and my hands shake. Full scholarship. Nursing program. 4-year university. 80 miles east. I show my father. He doesn't look up from his laptop. "Nurses clean up other people's messes," he says. "Just like you do here." That same month, Kelsey drops out of community college mid-semester. My father pays off her tuition balance, her credit card, and buys her a used Audi. "She's finding herself," Brenda says, stroking Kelsey's hair. I find myself 2 part-time jobs, one at a diner, one at a campus bookstore, and I pay for my own textbooks with quarters and crumpled 5s. I don't complain. I'm out of the basement 5 days a week now. That's enough. Then one November night, junior year, I'm home for Thanksgiving. Everyone's asleep. I go to the basement to grab a blanket, and behind the water heater, I find a box. Old cardboard. My mother's handwriting on the side. Margaret. Personal. Inside, a silk scarf, a half-used perfume bottle, still faintly sweet, and a photograph. 2 women at a party. My mother, young, laughing, and beside her, an older woman in a navy dress, arm around my mother's waist. On the back, in blue ink, Margaret and Mom, Vivian's 60th birthday. Vivian. The name lands like a stone in still water. My father told me my grandmother died years ago. Heart attack, before you were born. But this woman looks healthy, joyful. And the party looks recent. Digital timestamp in the corner. 2001. 2 years before I was born. I almost typed the name into my phone that night, Vivian Hartwell. But my father checks my browser history every Sunday. I put the photo back. I close the box. I wait. 5 months later, April, I come home for Easter weekend. I go straight to the basement. The box is gone. I find Brenda in the kitchen, arranging tulips in a vase. "The box behind the water heater," I say. "Where is it?" She doesn't look up. "Old junk, I donated it." "That was my mother's." "Sweetie, it was collecting dust." That night, I can't sleep. I open Facebook Marketplace on my phone and type in our zip code, then scroll. And there it is, my mother's pearl necklace, the one from the photograph, listed for $43. The seller's username, B-Morris-Home. Brenda's email handle. My stomach drops. I screenshot everything. The next morning, I find my father in the garage. I show him the listing. I keep my voice even. "She's selling Mom's things. The necklace, the scarf. They were in that box." He barely glances at my phone. Brenda is my wife. This is her house too. Drop it. Those were Mom's. Drop it, Evelyn. He goes inside. The garage door hums shut behind him. That night in the basement cot at home, I stare at the water stain and something shifts. It's quiet. No thunder, no dramatic realization, just a slow, terrible clarity. I always thought keeping quiet was keeping peace, that absorbing their cruelty was the cost of having a family at all, that if I was patient enough, kind enough, invisible enough, one day someone would see me. But lying there in the dark, listening to Brenda laugh at something on TV upstairs, I understand. I wasn't keeping peace. I was keeping their comfort. And nobody was coming to see me, not unless I made some noise. I just didn't know the noise was already on its way. December 21st. My father calls a family meeting at the dining table. Brenda sits beside him, pen and notepad ready, like she's taking minutes for a board. We're hosting Christmas Eve this year, he says. Biggest one yet, 30 guests, neighbors, colleagues from the bank, a few relatives. He looks at me the way a foreman looks at a shift schedule. Evelyn, you're on food. I need a full spread, ham, sides, 2 desserts, decorations, table settings. Start tomorrow. I look at Kelsey. She's painting her nails at the table, not even pretending to listen. What's Kelsey doing? I ask. Kelsey's helping Brenda with the guest list and outfits. Right, outfits. I spend the next 3 days in the kitchen, brining the ham, rolling pie crust at midnight, ironing a tablecloth I find in the back of the linen closet that still smells like my mother's lavender sachets. On December 23rd, I pause. I look at the Christmas tree in the living room. It's enormous. Brenda insisted on 9 feet, and beneath it, wrapped in gold and silver, are stacks of presents. I count them. 32. I read every tag. Not a single one says Evelyn. I find Brenda arranging ribbon on the mantel. Am I invited as a guest, I ask, or just staff? She laughs. Light, musical, practiced. Don't be dramatic, sweetie. Family helps family. I nod. I go back to the kitchen. I slice carrots and think about a woman in a navy dress whose name I'm not allowed to search. 200 miles southwest, though I don't know it yet, a 78-year-old woman sits in the back of a black sedan reading a file. The file contains an address. This address, confirmed 72 hours ago. She tells the driver, Christmas Eve. We go Christmas Eve. December 23rd, late afternoon. A knock at the side door. Ruth Calloway stands on the porch, holding a plate of gingerbread cookies wrapped in cellophane. She's our neighbor 3 houses down. Silver hair, reading glasses on a chain. The kind of woman who remembers everyone's birthday, but never makes a fuss about her own. She steps into the kitchen and sees me. Flour on my cheek, apron stained. Alone. She looks at the ham, the pies cooling on the rack, the potatoes still waiting to be peeled. All this is you? She asks. Family helps family, I say, and I mean it to sound normal, but something in my voice cracks. Ruth sets the cookies down. She glances toward the living room where Brenda's music is playing, then touches my elbow and steers me out to the back porch. Honey, she says quietly, I need to tell you something. Yesterday, a car was parked out front. Real nice. Black, tinted windows. Sat there almost an hour. I frown. Probably lost. Cars that nice don't get lost on Maple Drive. She pauses, studies my face, then softer. You look just like your mama, you know that? My throat tightens. Your mama's mother, Ruth says carefully. She was something else, a force. You know that, right? I open my mouth but nothing comes out. My father told me my grandmother died. My father said she didn't care. Before I can answer, the back door swings open. Richard stands there, beer in hand, smile on, eyes sharp. Ruth, thanks for the cookies. His voice is warm. His gaze is a warning. Ruth straightens. She pats my arm once, says, Merry Christmas, sweetheart, and walks down the porch steps without another word. She knows something, but not yet. Not yet. Christmas Eve. The house glows. I've been up since 5 a.m. The ham is glazed and resting. The mashed potatoes are whipped. The green bean casserole is golden on top. 2 pies sit on the counter. pecan and apple, and I made both from scratch because Brenda said store-bought sends the wrong message. By 6 p.m., guests begin arriving. Coats pile on the bed upstairs. Perfume and cologne fog the hallway. 30 people fill the living room, champagne flutes catching the light from the 9-foot tree. I'm in the kitchen, apron on, hair pinned back, plating appetizers. From the living room, I hear my father's voice rise over the chatter. And this is my eldest, Kelsey. She's been such a blessing to this family. I peer through the kitchen doorway. Kelsey stands by the tree in a red velvet dress, smiling like she's accepting an award. Brenda beams beside her. A woman I recognize, Mrs. Palmer from church, glances around. And where's your other daughter, Richard? My father waves a hand. Oh, Evelyn's helping out in the kitchen. She likes to stay busy. Mrs. Palmer tilts her head. Helping out? On Christmas Eve? She insisted, Brenda says smoothly. She's selfless like that. No one follows up. No one checks. I stand in the kitchen doorway, holding a tray of bruschetta I spent 2 hours making. My name hasn't been spoken once tonight except as a footnote. I look at the living room. The laughter, the warmth, the tree, the gifts. And I realize something very simple. I'm not part of this family. I'm the machine that keeps it running. I set the tray down. I untie my apron. I put on the one nice sweater I own. Navy blue, cable knit, the only thing in my closet that isn't stained. I walk into the living room. I sit at the end of the dining table. There's no place card for me, so I pull up a folding chair between two of my father's colleagues from the bank. One of them, a man named Gary, nods politely. The other doesn't notice I'm there. The table is beautiful. I know because I set it. The cloth napkins, the candles, the centerpiece I made from pine branches and cinnamon sticks at 1 a.m. I eat in silence for 10 minutes. Then Kelsey opens the first gift. Then another. Then Brenda opens one. Then a neighbor couple exchanges small boxes. The pile under the tree shrinks. Name after name called. Laughter. Thank yous. Wrapping paper crinkling. I sit still, waiting. The pile gets smaller. My name never comes. Finally, when the last ribbon is pulled, I speak. I don't shout. I don't whine. I keep my voice at room temperature. Dad, is there one of those for me? The room doesn't go silent all at once. It goes silent in waves, conversation dying table by table, like candles blown out in sequence. Brenda reacts first. Her eyes go red instantly. Her lip quivers. Evelyn, this isn't the time. I'm just asking. My father sets down his glass. We talked about this. You're 21. Kelsey is 23, I say. She has 6. Nobody moves. I can hear the clock in the hallway. Brenda turns to Richard, tears streaming. Her hand finds his arm. It's a performance. I've seen it 100 times. She always does this, Brenda whispers. But the room is so quiet, everyone hears. What happens next takes 11 seconds. I've replayed it enough times to count. Second 1, Richard pushes his chair back. Second 3, he grabs my upper arm. His fingers press into the bone. Second 5, he walks me to the front door. My heels drag on the hardwood I mopped yesterday. Second 8, he opens the door. The cold hits like a wall. -12 degrees. Wind. Snow coming down sideways. Second 9, he pushes me onto the porch. I stumble. I'm wearing socks. No shoes. The snow soaks through instantly. Second 11, the door shuts. The deadbolt clicks. I stand there. The porch light is off. The only glow comes from the windows, warm and golden and full of people. I press my hand to the glass. Inside, my father straightens his shirt, returns to the table, and picks up his champagne. Brenda dabs her eyes. Somebody pats her back. You want to talk back? He'd said as he shoved me through the door. Do it outside. Come back in when you learn some respect. My feet burn, then sting, then go numb. I curl my toes, but I can't feel them anymore. My sweater is thin. Wind cuts through cable knit like it isn't there. My fingers turn white. 10 minutes. The party resumes inside. Laughter again. Music. Someone found the Bluetooth speaker. 20 minutes. Snow reaches my ankles. I crouch against the railing and hug my knees. I look through the window one more time. Kelsey stands by the tree, holding a phone. She spots me, walks to the glass, smiles, waves her fingers slowly. the way you'd wave to a stranger's dog. Then she pulls the curtain shut. I close my eyes. I think, I'm going to die here. Outside my father's door. On Christmas Eve. I need to pause here for a second. Because what happens next? I still can't talk about it without my hands shaking. But before I continue, if you've ever been punished for simply asking a fair question, type, "I've been there," in the comments. Or if you think I should have fought back right then, type, "Fight back." Let me know. Okay. Here's what happened next. The snow is patient. It doesn't rush. It just keeps falling, keeps layering, keeps pressing its weight onto everything beneath it. My shoulders, my knees, the tops of my soaked socks. I don't know how long I've been out here, maybe 25 minutes, maybe 30. Time moves differently when your body starts shutting down the non-essentials. Fingers first, then ears, then the part of your brain that tells you to keep trying. I think about my mother, not in a grand, cinematic way. I just remember her hands, the way she'd warm mine between hers after I walked home from the bus stop in January. She'd blow on my knuckles and say, "There you go, little star, good as new." Little star. I whisper it now, to nobody. Mom, I don't know what to do. The wind answers. The house doesn't. But then, movement. Through the side window, I see a figure. Ruth Calloway. She's standing near the curtain, peering out. Her face is tight. She turns and says something to my father. I can't hear the words through the glass, but I see his hand. A sharp, dismissive wave. The kind of wave that means, not your business. Ruth stares at him for a long moment. Then she turns away. I pull my knees tighter. My jaw won't stop trembling. Then I think about the photograph. The one in the cardboard box. 2 women. A birthday party. Margaret and Mom. Vivian's 60th birthday. Vivian. Ruth's words from 2 days ago. Your mama's mother. She was something else. My father said she died. But the photo said otherwise. Ruth's voice said otherwise. What if the story I'd been told my whole life, that my grandmother abandoned me, forgot me, didn't want me, was the lie that kept me in this cage? I press my frozen palms together, and for the first time, I don't pray for the door to open. I pray for something else entirely. Through the window, the party continues like I never existed. My father stands at the head of the table. I can see his mouth moving, can read the shape of his words through the frosted glass. He raises his champagne flute. The room listens. I apologize for the disruption, he says. I can just make it out through the thin pane near the front door. Evelyn has been struggling. We've tried everything. Brenda has been a saint. Brenda lowers her head, humble, wounded, a masterpiece of restraint. I just want her to be happy, she says, and 2 women at the table actually reach over to squeeze her hand. Kelsey chimes in from the couch. She literally screamed at Mom last week. That's a lie. Last week I said, please don't sell Mom's things. I didn't raise my voice. I never raise my voice. Raising my voice is what gets you locked outside. A few guests murmur, heads nod. The narrative is set. Poor Richard. Patient Brenda. Troubled Evelyn. I watch it all through 6 inches of glass and 12 years of silence. But I also see Ruth. She doesn't nod. She doesn't murmur. She sets her glass on the end table, picks up her coat from the chair, and walks toward the back of the house, not toward the front door where I am, toward the back. 30 seconds later, the side gate creaks, footsteps crunch in the snow. And then Ruth is beside me, draping a wool blanket over my shoulders. It's warm. It smells like cedar. Here, sweetheart. Her voice is steady, urgent. I called someone. My teeth chatter so hard I can barely speak. Who? Ruth looks at me. Her eyes are full of something I haven't seen directed at me in 12 years. Certainty. Someone who should have been here a long time ago. Somewhere down the street, I hear an engine. Low. Heavy. Getting closer. The front door swings open. Light and warmth spill onto the porch for exactly 2 seconds before my father's body fills the frame. He sees Ruth. He sees the blanket around my shoulders. His nostrils flare. Ruth, this is a family matter. Ruth doesn't flinch. She's 60 years old and 4 inches shorter than him, but she stands like a woman who's been waiting to say something for a very long time. A family matter? She gestures at my feet. She's barefoot in the snow, Richard. She's being taught a lesson. Go back inside or go home. Is that what you call this? A lesson? I call it parenting. Ruth's chin lifts. Margaret would be ashamed of you. The name lands like a slap. My father's face goes white, then red, in the space of a breath. He opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. You don't get to say her name. Somebody has to, because you buried it along with everything else. Ruth holds his stare for 3 full seconds. Then she turns, walks down the porch steps, and stands at the edge of the driveway, not leaving, waiting. My father looks at me. I'm clutching the blanket around my shoulders. My lips are blue. He reaches down and yanks the blanket away. The cold crashes back in. You don't get sympathy, he says. You earn your place. Something in me shifts, small, structural, like a crack in a foundation you don't notice until the wall starts leaning. Earn my place? I say. My voice is quiet, but it doesn't shake. In a house my mother lived in? He flinches. Just for a second. A micro-expression. There and gone. But I see it. Then the door slams shut. The deadbolt turns. And I'm alone in the snow again. But not for long. He doesn't waste time. Through the window, I watch my father return to the living room, smooth his shirt, and pick up the room like a conductor picks up an orchestra. I need to be honest with all of you. He pauses. The guests lean in. He has their attention. He always does. Richard Dawson, branch manager at First Heritage Bank, 3-time Rotary Club president, the man who hosts the best parties on Maple Drive. When he speaks, people listen. That's how control works. You build the stage long before you need it. Evelyn has had behavioral problems since she was a child. Her mother coddled her. Brenda and I have tried our best, but tonight, you all saw, she can't control herself. Brenda nods slowly, dabbing beneath her eye with a folded napkin. We even offered to pay for therapy. She refused. That's a lie. Nobody ever offered me therapy. Nobody ever offered me anything except a cot in the basement and a list of chores. Kelsey curls her legs beneath her on the couch. She's been getting worse. Last week she was screaming. 3 lies in 30 seconds. A family record. A couple near the fireplace whispers to each other. Gary from the bank stares at his hands. Mrs. Palmer frowns, but says nothing. I stand outside in the snow, hearing all of it through the thin wall near the front door. Every word, every nod, every silence that means agreement. Tears run down my face, but they're half frozen before they reach my jaw. I want to scream. I want to pound on the glass and say, I cooked your food. I decorated your tree. I ironed your tablecloth. And you locked me out for asking a question. But I don't. I stand still. And I wait. Because down the road, headlights are turning onto Maple Drive, 11:14 p.m. I'll never forget the time, because Ruth checks her watch and whispers it from the edge of the driveway. 11:14. The headlights are wide and low. They sweep across the snow-covered lawns of Maple Drive like searchlights, turning the white ground pale gold. The engine is quiet, the expensive kind of quiet, and the car that emerges from the dark is long and black and polished to a mirror shine. A limousine, on Maple Drive, on Christmas Eve, in front of my father's house. It glides to the curb and stops. The engine idles. Snow drifts against its tires. Ruth walks to the car. She bends toward the rear window and nods at whoever's inside. The driver's door opens. A man in a dark coat steps out, circles to the rear passenger side, and opens the door. Another man emerges first. Middle-aged, gray overcoat, leather briefcase in his left hand. He looks at the house, then at me, then back at the car. Then a hand appears on the doorframe, thin, steady, a single gold ring on the 4th finger. A woman steps out. She's 78 years old, but she moves like someone who has never once waited for permission. White cashmere coat, silver hair pinned in a low knot, eyes sharp and dark and wet. She sees me. I'm crouching on the porch, socks soaked through, lips blue, sweater crusted with snow, shaking so hard my teeth click like a metronome. She stops walking. Her hand goes to her mouth, her chest rises once, hard, like she's swallowing something jagged. Then she crosses the yard in 5 steps, unbuttons her coat, and drapes it over my shoulders. It's warm. It smells like jasmine. She cups my face in both hands. Her palms are soft and dry and burning warm. She says 2 words. Little star. I know her. Not from memory. From a photograph hidden behind a water heater in a basement. 2 women at a birthday party. One of them laughing. One of them holding her daughter like she'd never let go. I know you, I whisper. From the photo. Her eyes close. When they open, they're red and fierce and full of something that has been building for 12 years. I know you too, little star. I've been looking for you. She pulls me into her arms. I'm frozen and shaking, and I smell like ham glaze and snow, and she holds me like none of that matters, like I'm the only warm thing in the world. Then she straightens. She looks at the house, the golden windows, the laughter inside, the 9-foot tree and the 30 guests, and the man who locked his daughter outside in the cold. She turns to the man with the briefcase. Douglas. He nods once, opens the briefcase. Vivian walks to the front door. She doesn't knock gently. She knocks 3 times. Firm, measured, final. The door opens. My father stands in the frame, champagne in his hand, smile half-formed. Then he sees her. The glass tilts. Champagne spills on his wrist. He doesn't notice. Vivian. Her name comes out of his mouth like a bone stuck in his throat. She doesn't greet him. She looks past his shoulder, at the 30 faces turned toward the door, at Brenda frozen mid-laugh on the couch, at Kelsey holding a gift bag. Then she looks back at me, still wrapped in her coat on the porch, and back at him. You locked my granddaughter in the snow, she says. Her voice carries. She means it too. On Christmas Eve. In the house I bought. 30 people go silent at once. Brenda stands up from the couch. Who is this woman? Nobody answers her. Every pair of eyes is locked on the doorway, on the 78-year-old woman in a white blouse who just said the word bought like she was reading a verdict. My father recovers first. He always does. Mother, this is a misunderstanding. I am not your mother. Vivian's voice is a scalpel, clean, precise. I am Margaret's mother, and this is not your house. Douglas Fenn steps inside. He moves with the practiced calm of a man who has delivered uncomfortable truths in far more hostile rooms than this. He opens the briefcase on the dining table, right next to the centerpiece I made, and removes a folder. This property, Vivian says, lifting a document for the room to see, 47 Maple Drive, was purchased by me, Vivian Hartwell, in 2003, as a wedding gift for my daughter Margaret. The deed is in my name. It has always been in my name. Richard shakes his head. That's not... I've been paying. You've been living here, rent-free, for 21 years. Vivian doesn't raise her voice. She lowers it, which is worse. Because I allowed it, for Margaret's sake, and then for Evelyn's. The room shifts. I can see it. The way people's postures change. The way Gary from the bank uncrosses his arms. The way Mrs. Palmer puts her hand over her mouth. Brenda's face cycles through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Confusion, fury, calculation. Richard, what is she talking about? This is my house. I pay the bills, utilities, maintenance. Vivian, paying the electric bill does not make you the owner, Richard. Douglas sets the deed on the table, then a second document, then a third, then a thick stack of envelopes bound with a rubber band. 12 years of certified letters, he says mildly, all returned unopened. Vivian turns to me. I'm standing just inside the doorway now. Douglas guided me in. Out of the cold, please, miss, and draped a blanket from the car over my legs. My feet are on the warm hardwood. They sting coming back to life. Evelyn, Vivian's voice changes. The scalpel becomes a hand. Your grandfather and I wrote to you every birthday, every Christmas, cards, gifts, letters, for 12 years. The room holds its breath. I look at my father. Is that true? He doesn't answer. He's staring at the stack of envelopes on the table like they're a grenade with the pin pulled. Dad, did you send her letters back? She's manipulating you. His voice cracks at the seam. Just like she manipulated your mother. That's a lie, Richard. Ruth Calloway. She's standing in the back doorway, coat on, arms crossed. I don't know when she came in, but she's here. Margaret loved her mother, Ruth says. More than anything, you were the one who cut Vivian off. I was there. I watched it happen. My father opens his mouth. Nothing comes out. 144 letters, Vivian says. She picks up the bundle and holds it where the light catches it. Every envelope is addressed in the same handwriting. Every one is stamped, "Return to sender." Not one reached her. A woman near the fireplace gasps. Gary from the bank pushes his chair back and stands, as though sitting at this table suddenly implicates him. Kelsey looks at Richard. Dad, what's going on? Brenda is already moving. She takes 2 quiet steps toward the staircase like a woman calculating the fastest route to the exit. My father stands in the middle of his own living room, surrounded by his guests, his decorations, his champagne, and he has nothing left to say. The cage is open. 144 letters. Can you imagine that? 12 years of birthday cards, Christmas gifts, handwritten notes, all intercepted, all sent back. If this story is hitting you somewhere deep, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And tell me in the comments, would you forgive Richard, or would you walk away forever? Let's keep going, because Vivian wasn't done. Vivian lets the silence do its work. She doesn't rush. She's spent 12 years waiting. Another 30 seconds is nothing. Then she speaks, and she speaks to Richard the way you speak to someone who has already lost but doesn't know it yet. I gave you this house for Margaret. Margaret is gone. She pauses. And you used it as a cage for her daughter. Richard's jaw works. His fists clench at his sides. But there's nowhere to swing. Not with 30 witnesses, not with a lawyer holding a deed, not with his daughter's frozen socks leaving wet prints on his hardwood. Effective January 15th, Vivian says, I am reclaiming this property. You have 3 weeks to vacate. You can't do that. Douglas doesn't look up from the folder. She can. She's the legal owner. You have no lease, no contract, no claim. I'll file the formal notice tomorrow morning. Richard turns in a slow circle, scanning the room for an ally. Gary looks at the floor. Mrs. Palmer looks at her lap. The couple near the fireplace is already reaching for their coats. Nobody meets his eyes. Then Brenda's voice cuts through. And it's a voice I've never heard before. Not the soft, wounded tremor she uses on Richard. Something harder, colder, real. Richard, she's standing at the foot of the stairs, purse already on her shoulder. You told me this was your house. It is my. You told me this was yours. The mask falls. Brenda isn't crying now. She's calculating, and the math just changed. Vivian watches the exchange without expression. Then she turns to Brenda. And you. I know about the necklace. Margaret's pearl necklace. I know you sold it online for $43. Brenda's face drains of color so fast I can see it from across the room. The cage isn't just open. It's demolished. My father tries one last thing. The only tool he has left when authority fails. Sentiment. He turns to me. His eyes soften. His shoulders drop. His voice goes quiet, almost tender. And if you didn't know him, if you hadn't spent 21 years studying every shift in his tone the way a sailor studies wind, you might believe it. Evelyn, sweetheart. He takes a step toward me. You're my daughter. Don't let this woman come between us. I lost my temper. It's Christmas. Let's not do this. I look at him. I look at the door he pushed me through. I look at the deadbolt he turned. I look at the window Kelsey waved from before pulling the curtain shut. I look at the 30 guests who sat in silence while I stood barefoot in the snow. I don't shout. I don't cry. I speak the way you speak when you finally found the floor after years of falling. You locked me outside at -12 degrees, barefoot, on Christmas Eve, and went back to your wine. I lost my temper. You didn't lose your temper, you made a choice. I hold his gaze. Just like you chose to hide every letter Grandma sent. Just like you chose to tell me she abandoned me for 12 years. He opens his mouth. I don't let him fill it. I'm not punishing you, Dad. I'm done waiting outside your door. I turn to Vivian. She extends her hand. I take it. We walk toward the front door. Ruth Calloway follows. Douglas gathers the documents and closes his briefcase with a soft click. 30 people watch us leave. Nobody speaks. The Christmas tree blinks red and gold behind us, lighting up a room full of people who will never look at Richard Dawson the same way again. I don't look back. The limousine is warm. Not house warm, not blanket warm. The kind of warm that seeps into your bones and tells your body it's safe now, you can stop clenching. Vivian sits beside me. She tucks a second blanket around my legs, then reaches over and takes my frozen hands between hers. She doesn't rub them. She just holds them. Steady and firm, the way she must have held my mother's hands once. I looked for you every single day, little star. My voice is a wreck. He said you didn't want me. I wanted you so much I hired 3 investigators. The first 2 hit dead ends. Your father moved twice, changed phone numbers, used Brenda's name on every bill. She squeezes my hands. The third one found this address 72 hours ago. I was on a plane the next morning. You came for Christmas. I came for you. Christmas was just the clock. I break. Not the way I broke in the basement, silent and swallowed. I break the way you break when someone finally holds the door open after you've been knocking your whole life. Loud, ugly, shaking. 12 years of silence come out in 90 seconds, and Vivian doesn't shush me. She doesn't pat my back and tell me it's okay. She just holds on. When I finally stop, I look out the rear window. The house is shrinking. The Christmas lights blink against the snow. Inside that house, my father is standing in front of 30 people who just learned that his home isn't his story isn't true, and his daughter, the one he locked outside, walked away on her own terms. I press my forehead to the cold glass. "Merry Christmas, Mom," I whisper. The limousine turns the corner. Maple Drive disappears. And for the first time in 12 years, I'm not cold. The fallout is not dramatic, it's administrative. Which, if you think about it, is worse. The week after Christmas, the story travels the way stories do in small towns, not through headlines, but through coffee shops, church lobbies, and bank lines. 30 guests means 30 households. 30 households means 100 conversations before New Year's. I learn the details later, mostly from Ruth. December 28th. Brenda packs 2 suitcases and leaves with Kelsey while Richard is at work. She doesn't file for divorce. She doesn't leave a note. She just goes. When the foundation you built your life on turns out to belong to someone else, there's nothing left to argue about. January 2nd. Richard returns to the bank after the holiday break. His manager calls him into the office within the hour. "Richard, some clients have raised concerns. There are questions about your integrity. Not fired, not yet, but watched, monitored. The kind of professional limbo where every handshake now carries a footnote." January 4th. Gary, the colleague from the party, transfers his accounts to a different branch. He doesn't explain, he doesn't have to. January 15th. Douglas Fenn files the formal notice. Richard has 72 hours to confirm his move-out date. He doesn't contest it. There's nothing to contest. The deed has never had his name on it. Richard calls me 14 times that month. I don't pick up. Not because I'm angry. I don't have the bandwidth for anger. I'm too busy learning what it feels like to live without a cage. His final attempt comes through Douglas in a sealed envelope. "Please tell Evelyn I'm sorry." I read it at Vivian's kitchen table. I fold it once. I set it down. I don't reply. Some apologies aren't invitations. They're exits, and I'm not obligated to hold the door. Vivian's house sits on a hill outside a town called Whitfield, 40 minutes from the nearest highway. It's not a mansion. It's a craftsman. Wide porch, green shutters, a garden that sleeps under snow right now but will, I'm told, explode with peonies in May. She gives me the upstairs bedroom, south-facing, 2 windows. Sunlight so warm it wakes me without an alarm. It's the first time since I was 9 that I've slept above ground. On my 3rd morning, Vivian sets a box on the kitchen table. It's large, heavy. The cardboard is reinforced at the corners, and the top is sealed with packing tape that's been opened and resealed many times. "These are yours," she says. "They've always been yours." Inside, 144 envelopes, sorted by year, each one addressed to me in the same handwriting, steady and deliberate and full of love. I opened the first one, dated March 15th, 12 years ago. My 10th birthday. Dear little star, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I want you to know that on this day, someone in this world celebrated you. I baked a small cake. Vanilla, your favorite. Your mother told me once. I blew out the candle for you. I wished you were safe. I wished you were warm. I wished you knew. All my love, Grandma V. I read it 3 times. Then I opened the next one. And the next. Birthday cards. Christmas letters. Notes written on hotel stationery from places she traveled. A drawing of a star she made on a napkin. And tucked inside the envelope for my 18th birthday, a folded letter from a financial advisor confirming a college fund opened in my name. Fully funded. Untouched. My father hid this too. I sit in Vivian's kitchen and read every letter. All 144. It takes me 4 hours. She sits across from me the whole time. She doesn't say a word. She's just there. February. I finished my last semester of nursing school. The commute from Vivian's house is longer, but she insists on driving me to the bus station every morning. I have 12 years of driving to make up for, she says, adjusting her mirror. Let me have this. Graduation day is small and bright. I walk across the stage in a white dress I bought with money from my campus bookstore job. When I look into the audience, Vivian is in the second row, upright as a cathedral, clapping with both hands. Ruth Calloway is beside her. She drove 90 minutes to be there. On the ride home, the highway is silver with late winter sun. I watch the trees blur past and ask the question I've been turning over for weeks. Grandma, do you think I should forgive him? Vivian doesn't answer right away. She drives for a full mile in silence. Then, forgiveness is yours to give, not his to demand, and you don't have to decide today. I think about that. I think about the deadbolt clicking, the champagne poured while I froze, the letters hidden in a drawer I never knew existed. I think about the man in the garage who said, "Drop it, Evelyn." I don't hate him, I say finally. I just don't trust him. Maybe that's enough for now. Vivian glances at me. That's more than enough. That night, I write a letter. It takes me 20 minutes. I give it to Douglas the next morning to forward. Dad, I hope you find peace. But I need mine first. Please don't contact me again until I reach out. If I reach out, that's my choice now. Evelyn. 4 sentences. No anger, no punishment. Just a line drawn in clean sand. Some doors close quietly. That doesn't make them any less shut. I want to talk to you for a minute, not as a character in a story, as the person who lived it. I'm not telling you this so you'll hate my father. I'm telling you this so that if you're standing outside someone's door right now, in the snow, in the silence, in whatever cold they've locked you in, you know that the door isn't the only way forward. For 12 years, I thought peace meant keeping quiet, absorbing the cruelty, smiling through the exclusion, telling myself that if I was just good enough, patient enough, invisible enough, they'd eventually see me. Let me in. Make room. They didn't. And here's what I've learned since. Silence isn't peace. Silence is the price you pay for someone else's comfort. And when the cost of staying quiet is your own dignity, that's not loyalty. That's erasure. My grandmother taught me something I'll carry forever. She said, "You don't need anyone's permission to have value, but you do need to give yourself permission to walk away." I walked away, not in anger, not in revenge. I walked away because I finally understood that love doesn't lock you out. Love drives 200 miles on Christmas Eve in a snowstorm because it heard you might be cold. Today, I work at a hospital 30 minutes from Vivian's house. I'm a registered nurse. I help people feel safe in their worst moments, and I think I'm good at it. Maybe because I know what it feels like when nobody comes. I have a small apartment now, close enough to visit Vivian every weekend. I have a cat named Star. She sleeps on my chest every night and doesn't care whether I earned my place. I already have one. I always did. This Christmas is different. Vivian's craftsman house smells like cinnamon and pine. The tree is small, 5 feet maybe, and we decorated it together. No 9-foot statement piece, no 30 guests, no gold wrapping paper piled in towers, just us, 2 place settings, 2 mugs of cocoa, a fire in the hearth, snow falling outside the window, soft and steady, and for the first time in my life, I'm watching it from the warm side of the glass. Under the tree, 2 gifts. Open yours first, Vivian says. I pick up the small box, unwrap it carefully. Inside, on a bed of velvet, is a pearl necklace. A pendant hangs from the center, a tiny oval locket. I press the clasp. It opens. Inside, a photograph. My mother. Young, laughing. The same photo from the cardboard box in the basement, but smaller. Miniature. Perfectly preserved. How did you... The original was sold. I had the same jeweler make it, from a photo your mother gave me 30 years ago. Vivian's eyes shine, but her voice is steady. Brenda can sell a necklace. She can't sell a memory. I fasten it around my neck. The pearl rests just below my collarbone, cool at first, then warm. I look out the window. Snow falls on the porch, but the porch is empty. No one is shivering, no one is locked out, no one is watching happiness through a window, wondering why it never includes them. Last Christmas, I stood outside in the snow, barefoot and frozen, watching someone else's joy through a pane of glass. This Christmas, I am the warmth inside. I press the locket against my chest. I close my eyes. Merry Christmas, little star, Vivian says. Merry Christmas, Grandma. That's my story, and now I want to hear yours. If you've ever had to walk away from someone you love to protect yourself, type "I walked away" in the comments. Or if you chose to stay and fight for your boundaries, type "I stayed and fought." Both are brave, both are valid. If this story moved you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. Merry Christmas, little stars.